But let me get the night started. Let's go ahead and pray. We'll get this evening going. Dear Lord, Father, we just thank you so very much for this evening, for the opportunity to make new friends and to meet new people. And we just ask that you be with us this evening as we talk about the handling of resources. We praise you in all things. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
It is, I got to tell you, I am so excited about tonight. It's one of my favorite nights. We're starting off on the budget. This is where we roll up the sleeves. We put pen to paper. We make things happen. We make some real headway in the mechanics of organizing and getting all your finances together. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of work to this, all right? So here's the rules for the evening. You guys, I told you last week, informal guide. If you got questions, do I need to practice again? We know how to raise the hand? We got that? Ask questions, all right? Because this is all about you guys. We want to make sure that we get through the information tonight and get that to happen. I want to share two things with you before I begin. The first one is this. I don't know yet your personal situations. If anybody in here is struggling with their electric bill, maybe you're behind a little bit. On the 12th, this Saturday, P&M has, I am the financial counselor for P&M. And I do a course called Financial Fundamentals. If you go to that, you get a $20 Walmart card. They will give you these low, you know, those light bulbs that use very little electricity. They'll give those to you. They'll do an assessment for free of your house, and they'll help you with your bill. If you're coming through this class, I can make a lot of great things happen. P&M is one of the most wonderful giving organizations in this community. So if you're struggling, or if anyone you know is struggling, I got this handout up here. I can make a ton of copies. You let me know. And then I get to see your lovely smiling faces again on Saturday. So,
and it is in Rio Rancho at St. Thomas Aquinas Church.
St. Thomas Aquinas on Saturday. So we'll be there. And also, I want to tell you, are there people out there trying to separate you from money? Are there some scams that are going on out there in different places? Yep. I got one today. I wanted to share this with you. I got this email today at about 11 o'clock, and it says this. It says, "Welcome to my world. I am Mrs. Maria Wong. I am a staff of Standard Chartered Bank here in South Korea, attached with a private banking service. I have some money in my bank that I need to transfer to America. Please reply to," and then it gives her email address. What do you think? Legitimate? No. Is this somebody that they have way too much time on their hands? So I'm going to harass her and play. No, I'm not. Listen, when you get these, you delete these. You don't even go there. You look for it. Now, I'm going to tell you, this works. It works because people are doing this all the time. I know very personally of a friend of mine whose mother got talked out of $18,000. And it was incredible the way they did it. So be on guard. Be on guard. So needless to say, Mrs. Wong wasted her time sending something to me today. We're not going to be doing that. All right, let's get started here today. Now, we're going to do a homework review. Every single time that we get together, we're going to review the homework. And here's what normally happens. I told you last week. I'll say, somebody share with me, and then it's dead quiet. You hear crickets in the room. We're not doing that in this class. We're going to rock and roll and get things to happen. So I'm asking you, how did the money date go? Somebody share. Go ahead.
All right, so we're both fairly assertive personalities.
Okay.
And so we were talking, and the money date started off pretty good, and then emotions were a little bit higher than when we started.
Okay.
And so we came up with the process, and the money date went well. We laid out all the plans. We made a written agreement for the always and nevers. We created a financial goal, some personal goals.
Good.
But we had to come up with a way to talk, and so you can't talk until the other person says period.
There you go. Oh, I like that. I like that. Remember the 95-5 theory, right? That's what we talked about. So Roy brought up something that's very, very important. There was a little bit of emotion in the discussion. Can that happen, or is it just them? It's all of us. There's emotion when it comes to it. And yet, $1 or $5 has no emotion. It's a piece of paper. Until it starts getting involved in your goals and what you want to have and do. So there can be some discussion when it comes to money. And you guys handle that very well. Both strong personalities, as you said, and that's probably a good thing because then you're going to put things out on the table a little bit to do that. Good. Thank you for sharing that, Roy. All right, who else? Somebody else. Money date. How'd it go? Dun, 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 dun. Come on. Who else? Anybody else have one? Go ahead.
I set up money dates with family members.
Good.
To hold me accountable, and it was interesting because it opened the door to a real sweetness with one of my family members, and then also helped me to set up some accountability with my parents, and also in that kind of healing some of the generational stuff.
Wonderful. So Maria said that she, for her accountability part, to help her hold accountable, she got to family members. And that helped a lot, didn't it, to be able to do that? And you'll be very surprised if you do engage with family members how much you will learn about where they are financially, and in many cases they need help and assistance. Those of you who are not in a relationship right now should find someone to hold you accountable. This is important. Find somebody that you trust, that you can rely on, so that you can work together and be able to stay focused on what is important to you to achieve those things. Now, every single week we're going to talk about a money date. Communication is fundamental to financial success, and you've got to be open and honest about it, and you've got to be able to come to the table and talk about it. If you don't have a financial accountability partner yet, do that this week. Find someone that can work with you to make that happen, okay? Questions about the money date? Did anybody else other than Roy and Cindy have any kind of, let's just say, heated discussion or a little bit where emotions ran a little high? Or was it pretty calm throughout? Pretty calm? Okay, Wendy?
I cried.
Okay, you cried? Well,
It's uncomfortable.
it is uncomfortable. Thank you for saying that.
And it's embarrassing, and it's not something I was brought up to talk about.
There you
And
go.
So I got a little uncomfortable and I teared up.
It is. It's so uncomfortable because we're not trained on how to do this. We're just not. Remember the question that we asked last week when we were talking about communication? How did your parents handle money? Remember we talked about that? Why? Because it is going to give you some examples on how you handle money. And if you are never taught how to be able to handle money and you're uncomfortable talking about it, you've got to get out of that. You've got to get out of that and open that up because it'll change your life in the way you do it. Wendy, thank you for sharing that. Karen and I had a lot of tears. We'll tell you about that later. Yeah, we'll talk about that. All right, we talked about written agreements, things that you will never do and things that you will always do. Things that you will never do and things that you will always do. So I want somebody to give me one thing that you agreed that you will never do. Never do. Anybody, go ahead.
Never share with anyone else.
Say it louder.
Never share with anyone else.
Oh, very good. Okay. And that's an important one, isn't it? So now having that and understanding that is now part of the rules of engagement when it comes to money, right? Very good. All right, someone else. Give me a never. Give me one never. Anybody? Go ahead, Joey.
Never say I don't care.
Oh, man, I love that. Never say I don't care. I just don't care. I'm done. I've had enough. Now, does that help communication? If you say that, no, it doesn't. So never say I don't care. Because you need to care no matter what it is. If it's important to your other party, it's going to be important to you. So whatever you decided for nevers, you need to put that. I encourage you to put it up on a refrigerator somewhere. I am never going to do that. All right? All right, now let's talk about things that you said you would always do. Always do. Give me one.
They put always handle issues when they arise.
Roy said, always handle issues when they arise. Man, that's important. It's not always easy, is it? Because the emotion might be there. If there's a situation that needs to be discussed, you can be angry and upset. But if you can say, look, can we just talk about it? Remember, one of the things I talked about last week was being able to ask permission to be able to engage on that topic, to be able to do that. The earlier you get it done, the earlier those icicles on the ceiling go away and the house isn't so uncomfortable. So you need to be able to do it, address it as soon as possible. Somebody give me one other one. One more. Go ahead.
Kind of along those same lines, we had to make it more specific for us.
Good.
We had to always set a specific time to readdress it if we couldn't right at that moment.
Oh man, I love that.
Issues were too high.
I love that. Cindy said they agreed to set up a specific time to be able to address a topic even though it was too heated right at the moment to do it, right? So now you have a time to make that happen. I love that. You see, folks, this is whatever works for you. Whatever works for you. But come up with a plan and stick to it. Always and nevers are very important in the communication process. Very important. All right, we talked about goals, personal and financial. Now, I said, go to your separate corners, come up with a list of goals, dream, think about where you want to be, what you want to do, and write them down. And then I asked you to do this. Discuss one short-term financial goal. Come up with one. Everybody take out your short-term financial goal that you did for homework. All right. Now, last week, I gave you a definition of what a short-term goal was, what the time frame was. Does anybody remember what that was? How much time?
Up to 5 years.
5 years or less, right? 5 years or less. Now, what I want somebody to do in here, somebody give me a short-term goal from your worksheet. Who's got one? Yes, ma'am.
I said to pay off 2 of my credit cards.
Pay off 2 of your credit cards. Great.
They're small balances.
Small balances. Okay, very good. May I elaborate on this with you since you brought that up? Is that okay? All right, so what are the names of the 2 cards that you have?
Ann Taylor and Amazon.
Okay. Ann Taylor and what was the second one?
Amazon.
Amazon. Oh boy, yeah, that's right there. Yeah, she knows where to find that. Yeah.
Yes, I do.
She's Amazon Prime. Pamela sounds like she's got it down pat.
Yep.
All right. So we want to get rid of that debt to be able to make it happen. Now, whenever you have a short-term goal and look at yours, it's got to meet certain criteria. How are you going to pay it off? It's not just the same. If you just said, I'm so sorry, what's your first name? Say it again. Janelle, okay. Janelle said, I want to pay off 2 credit cards in 5 years. Is she done? Is that a good goal? It's a good goal, but is it defined enough? Is what we got to do. And that's what we got to make happen, all right? So there's criteria that's involved in that I gave you last week. First of all, it has to be realistic, right? It has to be a realistic goal. So, Janelle, do you believe that you're going to be able to accomplish that in 5 years?
Yes, less than 5 years.
Good deal, less than 5 years. So talk to me about realistic. What did you write down?
I said, yes, it's realistic. I can fit $100 a month to fit into my budget because I'm going back to school, so my student loans will be on deferment.
Oh, wonderful.
My student loans are like 1% and my credit cards are like 29.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah.
Man, I hate that. So what she said is, yeah, is this something she can do? She's got $100 in the budget that she can apply to it because her school loans are going to be deferred. Those are at 1%, and the credit cards are at a higher percentage rate, which is the norm, right? That's a very good financial decision to be able to do it in that way. So she's thought this through. What's the next step for criteria?
So if I make double payments, because my payments are small now, so if
Okay.
I double them, I can pay them off within 6 months.
Pay it off in 6 months by doubling the payments. Is that being assertive on it? Absolutely, absolutely. Is it measurable? Yeah, 6-month time frame to be able to make it happen. Very important, okay? Very good.
The only thing that I'm afraid of is like Christmas time if I have, because you pay off and then your balance, so I gotta be really careful, so you can help me.
All right, Kaz, you're in charge of that part, buddy. All right, Karen and I have the same situation. You are looking at Mrs. Santa Claus right here. Before we got on this budgeting process, I'm here to tell you, I was on Valium until Christmas was over, okay? It was unbelievable. Great, I'm recording this, so now this is going to be on YouTube. But you see, you got to understand that there are some times when you need to say no to certain things so you can accomplish other things. And we're going to share the story more later when we talk about gift giving and things in that criteria to make it happen. So let me ask the audience here. Is what she did detailed enough, and do you feel that based on that, Janelle's going to be able to finish that and get it done? So now let me ask you, the one that you wrote down, your short-term financial goal, have you met the 4 criteria, and are you committed to making it happen based on that? Now, my friends, please understand this. This whole course, everything that we talk about finances, has got to be focused on your goals. You have to be able to take the money that you have and tell it where to go. That's what your goals are all about. Hey, I want to be able to pay off 2 credit cards and I want to be able to do it in 6 months. I want to be able to pay off my car and I want to do that in 4 years. I want to be able to retire at 60 and I've got 25 more years to do that. It's a long-term goal. You see, this course is about telling your money where to go, putting yourself in control so that you accomplish the things that are important to you. Never forget your goals are so important in everything we do. Questions about that? Okay, good job. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. All right. All right, we're going to rock and roll on developing your budget. This is going to be part 1. We have a couple weeks that we're going to be doing the budgeting process. First of all, I want to get one thing straight with you, and this is real important. Please understand this. Quicken and similar software products are accounting tools. They tell you where your money has been. A budget tells your money where to go and puts you in control. So I get people all the time to say, well, I keep track of my money on Quicken. Very nice. In December of every year, they print out a pretty pie chart with all kinds of colors. But my friends, that tells you where your money has been over the last 12 months. I don't care where it's been. I care where it's going. I care what you're doing to change your life. So are we clear on the difference? All right. Now, we're going to talk, first of all, about ownership. As I shared with you last week, this is a ministry that we're in here, and we're going to talk a little bit about how Scripture and the Bible, and many of you shared some of the same feelings, about how that fits into what we do. Please go through this with me. First of all, ownership. Karen and I, being Christian people, we believe this: God owns everything. God owns everything. And if He owns everything, then when I come to managing my money, I think about kingdom focus. I think about that. And the Bible says this: the earth is the Lord's and all it contains, the world and those who dwell in it. Psalm 24:1. Very specific, isn't it? Doesn't leave out much, does it? I like Deuteronomy 10:14. It says this: behold, to the Lord your God belong heaven and the highest heavens, the earth and all that is in it. So if you're a person of faith today and you see something along this line, think about how you're approaching the resources that you've been given. Psalm 50:10 and 11 is, for every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle on 1,000 hills. I know every bird of the mountains, and everything that moves in the field is mine. It certainly doesn't leave much out, does it? Doesn't leave much out. I like Haggai 2:8 because it's easy for me to memorize. The silver is mine and the gold is mine, declare the Lord of hosts. My friends, we approach everything in our finances from a biblical perspective. We certainly believe that God gives us all the blessings that He has. My job, my home, my wife, my children, all the things that He's given me. And because of that, when we approach our budget, we approach it from that perspective. And we think about all the blessings that we've had and how we can use those throughout our life, through our budgeting process. We're going to learn more about that as we go on in the course. Here's how we define true financial freedom. First of all, let me ask you this. What would define it for you? What would define being financially free? You've made it. You're where you're at. How would you define that? Share that with me. Give me an idea. Go ahead.
Living to work instead of working to live.
I love it. Living to work rather than working to live. Right. So you have flexibility. You don't have to work for money, but you can do things that you enjoy, right? I love that. That's a good one. What else? I saw another hand. Go ahead, Pamela.
When you get a bill in the mail, you immediately pay it.
You can pay it off right away. Being able to write a check without it bouncing like a Super Bowl. You know, being able to just, you have your money, and guess what? You get to keep a little bit of it, right? That's how we define it, to be able to make that happen. And a lot of times, people define it as having more stuff. I don't agree with that. I believe that it's a matter of finding peace in your life financially, finding peace. Here's the way that I define it. I define true financial freedom this way. Freedom from the burden of debt, allowing you to respond without hesitation to the promptings of the Holy Spirit, in short, to fulfill the purpose for which God has you on this earth. Every single person in this room was created with a purpose. I don't know what yours is. Mine is to be able to teach what I'm teaching today. That's what my purpose is. What is yours? I don't know, but I'll tell you this. Chances are money's part of it. Being able to be free from debt. Think about the things that you can accomplish in this life if you do not have to worry about debt and you're free to do whatever you feel you're called to do. It's just so freeing to be able to do that. You ever feel like this? You're sitting in front of the television and you're inundated. Buy, upgrade, borrow, consume. We are inundated every single day with advertising, aren't we? With advertising. So let's use an example here. Roy, what are you advertising on your shirt today? You don't even know.
No.
What? Aaron's something.
Caseman, mud volleyball.
It's what?
Diana Caseman,
Mud-
mud volleyball.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So you've got an advertisement. How much are they paying you to advertise for them?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a zero. Okay. Ryan, what are you advertising for on your shirt?
I'm actually in the Air National Guard.
Air National Guard. Good. And you're advertising for them because you're part of what they're doing. But we don't even think about that type of advertising, do we? We wear hats, you know, say John Deere on them or whatever and doing that. And the things, I'm advertising for the ministry today that we do that. We are inundated every single day through billboards, radio advertisements, televisions. Everywhere you go, somebody is trying to separate you from your money. And that's because of the world we live in today is all about materialism. And I want to share with you a video that drives that point home. Please enjoy this.
I'm the king of excess. I'm the sultan of sales. I'm the boss of bargains. My credit cards, they never fail. I got a 700 something on my beacon score, which means I don't own a thing and I can buy even more. I'm a buffet eating, tablet reading, lovable guy. I get the best of the best that my money can buy. Do you need more money? Yeah. Do you need more gas? Do you need a bigger house and a big old car and a big old burger on a tiki bar and a big old rocket to reach big old Mars? Do ya? Yes!
Wow, do you? Isn't that cool? I love that. I've probably seen that 100 times. I still enjoy it. That is the world we live in. Do you need more? Do you need a bigger house? Do you need a bigger car? Do you need more money? Do you? Or do you need financial peace in your life? Do you need to find a place in your life where you have that calmness, that you have that peace, that you're not worried about it? Or is it all about the accumulation of stuff and money, which really, if you think about it, really is pretty meaningless, isn't it? Pretty meaningless. Now, Karen and I, we talk about advertising. We get the paper. I'll let you talk about this a little bit, sweetie. Why don't you talk a little bit about the paper?
We only get the Sunday paper, and we get it basically for the coupons, the comics, and that's about it.
Especially the comics. That's my
Especially the
section.
comics. And the Parade magazine. I do like the Parade magazine. So Mike is the early riser, so on Sunday mornings he goes out and get the paper. And I'm getting up and getting breakfast going. But the first thing he does is he takes all the advertisements out of it and throws them in the trash can and then brings the paper in. Because that way we have found that what we used to do was go through it all, and then on our way home from church we were stopping to buy something we didn't even know we needed until we opened up the paper. So now what we do is we just throw them all in the trash and we just look at the paper for what we got it for, and we're not tempted to buy something that we really don't need. And on the television, Mike loves to hit the mute button on the commercials. And then he likes to read the fine print, because that's where the real story is, but nobody ever reads that because you're listening to the commercial. So we just mute it through. If you don't hear it, you don't know you need it. Just watching a silent screen doesn't tell you a thing.
Eliminate the opportunity to be swayed by advertising. Don't put yourself in that situation. Just avoid it. We throw it away. And by the way, if you read the fine print on advertisements on television, you will be amazed at the things they try to slip by you. We'll talk more about that later on in the course.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Frank.
So when you hit the mute button, then you have this these words on the screen.
That's right. I should avoid them both, but at least I'm only using one sense. I'm only using my eyes, I guess, to do it. But if you start reading them, usually if you hear it, you don't pay attention, because have you ever noticed when you're listening to that part of the advertisement, the salesperson says it very quickly and very quietly, because they don't want you to know that, right? But if you got it on there just reading through it to gain information, it'll help you. It'll help. Make sense? Yes, sir.
To what they put into their bodies mentally.
Yeah.
In terms of what they listen to on the radio,
Yeah.
or what they watch on the television, or read in the newspaper. And so
Yeah.
he finds that ironic.
You know, I think that's very true. I think we are more in tune with what we put into our bodies as far as food and drink and that stuff. But so much garbage goes into our brain, doesn't it? So much garbage, and we allow that to happen. We're in control of that. One of the things that I did a number of years ago, I stopped watching the news. Is it ever good news? It's not. And about 4 years ago, I was watching a show where unfortunately a bus went over a cliff in South America, and a number of children died. And they were showing that on the camera, and it hurt my heart so bad. I just can't do it anymore. I just had that image all the time in my brain. So I stopped watching the news, and if something comes up that's important, I hear it from people. But I don't want to sit there and be inundated with negative news all day long. I just can't do it. And like you said, I don't want to let that stuff in my head. I just don't. Be in control of what is happening to you. And that includes not only physical, but mental. Great point. Thank you. Great point.
I do the same thing.
Do you?
I have stopped watching the news.
Good for you. It's never good news, and it's all just blown up so much, you know, and it's a sad thing.
Check out a certain story, but you're
Yeah.
right, it was the negativity that was inundating me, and I'm just like, I can't do this.
Yeah,
I'm tired of it.
You know, Mary said that she just can't do it. It just brings you down all the time, you know, and I'm the same way. I don't need negativity in my life. There's enough negativity that I get just through attrition. I don't need to do it.
The big problem is you can't do anything about it.
I can't, Frank. You know, Frank said you can't do anything about it, and that's exactly right.
The bus goes over a cliff in South America, what are you going to do?
All I can do is have my heart hurt. I can't affect change in most cases. You know, yesterday we had Robin Williams passed away. Terrible, terrible tragedy. I know about it, but I know I don't want to watch the news and hear about it 24/7. You know, I don't want to do that. So it's an important issue. You know, we talk about contentment. When we talk about advertising, we're told that we need so much. We're told that we need the newest, the biggest, the brightest, the shiniest. All these things we're told that we should have, but the Bible says something different. It says this in Hebrews 13:5, make sure that your character is free from the love of money, being content with what you have. Isn't that something? You know, folks, how many of you have ever been overseas to like a third world country or anything? Kaz has been, a number of you. It's different there, isn't it, my friends? It's different. You see, most people in this world cannot fathom the car you drove here in, the house you're going to go home to tonight, the job you have, the clothes you wear. We have so much in this country, and yet we're never content with what we have. Can you be content? Can you say, you know what, I don't need to get the new iPhone next time. I'm okay with this one. You see, it's about choices when it comes to money. It's about choices. Well, you ever feel like this? How much disposable income do you earn? Well, all of it, apparently. You feel that way where you get paid and it's gone and you don't know where it went? My job and Karen's job is to stop you from having to go through that. But that's reality. That's where most of us in America live. We're going to change that. Here's the debt cycle. We're on page 18 in your book. We had a class here a couple months ago, and a number of the people said, man, I just love this. Why don't you give us a copy of it? So you got a copy of it you can scribble on and write on. But see if you can't pick out where you are on this debt cycle, all right? So here's where most of us go into debt. We want more things. Why do we want more things? Because we are told by advertising that we deserve those things. You deserve a new car. You're entitled to the big screen TV. You need the iPhone 5 or whatever we're up to now, I don't know. But because we're told we need it, we end up wanting more things, and guess what? When we want more things, we spend more money. we spend it. We're not content and we spend money. When we spend our money, sometimes emergencies come up. Now, if we have already spent the money because we wanted more things and there's an emergency like the transmission goes out in the car, I don't have any savings available because I spent the money. This is where we get in trouble. We've spent the money that we should have been putting aside to take care of ourselves in life. When we don't have any savings, my friends, what do we do to fix the transmission on that car? We go into debt, don't we? We go into debt. And we end up borrowing money, and there's a ton of ways of borrowing money. We go to the credit cards to do that. We go to the bank to do that. We borrow from, heaven forbid, we go to title loan companies, or we go to these other organizations that are going to give you a high interest loan. So we end up borrowing money. When we borrow money, we go into debt. And in America, the solution to debt is normally this: I'll just work more hours. I'll get a little overtime. I'll get a second job. But you know what? Life is more important than that, isn't it? You see, if you're working more hours, there's not enough time to do the things that are truly important in this life. That is spending time with your family, your children, maybe your grandchildren. You see, I don't want any of us to spend our lives working for money to pay off things that we don't need, that we got caught up in and bought anyway. You don't need to do that. So when there's not enough time, I don't know about you, but when I'm so busy that I can't enjoy the things that I want to do in life, I find myself getting depressed. Did that ever happen to anybody? Get a little depressed about money? Been there, done that. You know, it used to be when I find myself depressed and worried about money, one thing really always cheered me up. I go shopping. You know, I buy more things, spend more money, get emergency savings, and I catch myself in this darn debt cycle, and I couldn't get out of it. And I had to change my life to make that happen. Now, here's your first test question that I'm going to ask you throughout the course. Remember this: there are two places to break the debt cycle. Two places. You can write it right on this debt one. Write it down. Two places to break the debt cycle. Number one is to stop wanting more things. Number one, stop it. Be content with what you have. The second place is to have enough savings to cover emergencies. Stop wanting more things and build your savings is the answer to breaking the debt cycle. And I will ask that question again, I promise you. All right, now on page 19, we're going to start talking about putting your financial house in order. Please hear this, all right? This is critically important to this course. There is a definitive process to becoming financially independent. And most of us get out of order because we get caught up in saying, okay, we need to pay off the credit cards. Let's do that. Okay. Oh, wait. We need to put more money on paying off the house. Oh, wait. I want to buy another car. Wait. You see, we're bouncing around. And you can't do that. You have to follow the order that we're going to teach you to have the very best opportunity to be financially free. And that is what this page represents. Let's talk about it. First of all, you need to hire a contractor. Here's my example. This is my analogy. Let's say, for example, that you went out here and you bought a piece of land and you've decided you're going to build a house. Well, I'm going to use building that house as an example of you building your financial house, all right? In other words, you build a house step by step by step. You put your financial house in order step by step by step. So the first thing you're going to do if you're going to build a house, you're going to hire a contractor. Somebody that knows how to be able to build a house. So that if I was to build it, it would be horrible. So I'm going to hire somebody who knows what they're doing. So when you hire a contractor, you want to think about a couple things. Does that person have experience? Does he have experience? Do other people recommend his work? Can you trust that person? Can he visualize the end result of what that house is going to look like? Does he possess wisdom? Wisdom. In my situation, and Karen, this is the way we look at it, we, in prayer, we turn our finances over to God. That's what we do. We trust that God is going to be able to help us through whatever dilemma we have, and He did, to be able to do things. And the scripture says this, John 14:6, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. We never did this before, about 8 years ago. And then we started turning it over to God and asking Him to help us through this, and He did a great job. Now, another thing, closer to home, that Jeremiah 29:11 says, you know, I don't know what your situation is today. Maybe right now you're struggling and you're in pain financially. Here's what Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a future and a hope. See, wherever you are right now, there's help for you out there. There's help for you. I encourage you to think about involving God in the finances to be able to help you through this. Now, right here on earth, when you're hiring a contractor, it's going to be your spouse or it's going to be an accountability partner. That is your contractor. That's who's going to keep you straight. Karen and I, we talk about everything to make sure that we're thinking things through all the way. That contractor helps you keep the plan on track. Second thing that we need to do is this. We need to draw up a plan. That's the budget. That's the budget. Now, I got to ask you, how many of you are thrilled to death about putting together a budget? Woo, can't wait, Mike. Let's make it happen. A couple of you. Pamela, she's been through this before. She knows. Now, let me explain something to you. Most of us feel that if we're putting a budget together, it's because we are just horrible money managers. Poor me. I can't make this thing work, so I got to be on a budget. It's just terrible being me. But let me tell you this. A budget, you want me to make it gentler? Let's call it a spending plan. You all better with that? We'll call it a spending plan. When you put together a budget, it is the most freeing thing you can do to be able to take the emotion out of the finances that you have and be able to move forward. I guarantee you're going to love it when we're done. You'll never go back, ever go back. You got to base your budget on your goals. We talked about that. Where do you want to be? Do you want to pay off 2 credit cards in 6 months? Do you want to retire at age 60? What is important to you? That's what the plan is all about. I'm going to encourage you to do this. One of the things we're going to talk about in this course is generosity, opening up and being able to help other people. I have seen so many folks do this through this course, and they receive more of a blessing than the people that they give the resources to. So I encourage you, as you're building your financial plan, think about how you can incorporate a way to help others. In other words, build an additional house, a spare room, to be able to help other people. Yes, go ahead.
What about tithing?
What about tithing is the question we have here. We're going to cover some of that later. May I defer that? And we'll cover that later on, okay? Good question. Then the third step in our process is to pour the foundation. So you've got the land, you've got somebody that you hired to help put it together, you've got everything in place, now you're ready to start building, and you pour the foundation, and the foundation of your house, your financial house, is your savings account. It is very important, and here's what we're looking at. You begin saving a little bit every month. You may not have a lot, but you begin saving a little every month. Your initial emergency savings goal is $1,000. That question will come up time and time again over the next few weeks. So everybody together, what is the first target goal in savings? How much? $1,000. Don't forget it. It's important. Why do you think I chose $1,000? Why not $2,000? Anybody got any ideas on that? Because it's a nice round figure. I just figured, what the heck, I'll throw it out.
Is it achievable?
Say it louder.
Is it achievable?
It's achievable. It's not too much. You can make that happen. Great job. That's exactly what it is. And also what you'll find is that studies have shown that $1,000 will cover over 90% of emergencies that come up. So you get something there. What does savings do? What does savings do to the debt cycle? It breaks it, right? So your first target goal is $1,000, but you're going to keep saving. Second goal is 1 month's living expenses. How much does it cost you to live for a month? How much is your house payment or your rent, all your utilities, your car payment, all the money that's going on? If I added it all up for 1 month, how much does it cost you to live? That's your second goal, is 1 month living expenses. And then finally, you look for 3 months living expenses on what that might be. Now, we work hard on this, but let me let Karen talk about it because it just makes me tear up.
We put money aside every month and it grows, and we have hit our 3-month living expense goal is $15,000. We have hit it 3 times in 8 years. And every time we're like, whoa, we've got that. Life happens and a large chunk has to come out and cover something, whether it's plane tickets suddenly because somebody's ill, or you know, this car is just deader than a doornail and now I need to get another transportation, so I have to pull money out. We've only hit that target 3 times, but we continue to put money back in because every month money goes back in and it slowly builds. So you don't beat yourself up if life happens and you have to take a chunk out, because savings has become automatic in your budget.
Commit to a certain amount every month and just do it every single month. It will be the foundation to help your finances stay level for the rest of your life. Savings is very important. So Karen and I sit around the table, we hit the target, we do the wave with just 2 of us. It's kind of boring with just 2 of us, but we do the wave. And then it seems like a month later something happens and all of a sudden it goes back down and we start over again. That's okay. Those things are going to happen. Savings is ongoing over your lifetime. You're always going to be putting a little bit of money aside. A little bit of money aside. You know, you talk about savings. In the Bible it says this about savings, and it's such a great book of wisdom, the Bible is, and it says this: there is precious treasure and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man swallows it up. In other words, a smart person is putting money away. But if you're foolish, you're buying all the latest gadgets and things and you don't have the money put aside. Don't do that. Don't do that. Make sure you plan. Number 4, the 4th thing we're going to do is going to put up the walls of your financial house. And that, my friends, is eliminating debt. By a show of hands, how many of you want to be debt-free the rest of your life? That's where we're going. Eliminate debt involves 4 key areas. The first one is this: the credit cards. Out of there. Let's get them paid off. Let's use them as a tool if we need to, but otherwise, we're going to talk to you and teach you how to get rid of that debt. We're going to talk about consumer debt. That might be furniture that you buy. It might be new draperies, anything that you put on revolving debt. It could be that. A car. We're going to talk about that a little bit today, as a matter of fact. A vehicle debt that you have. And a home mortgage. Be able to do that. Did all of you know that you can actually pay off your house in quicker than 30 years? We need to do that. We need to get that done. I'm going to teach you how to do that later on in the course. You know, when it comes to debt, Proverbs 22:7 says this: just as the rich rule over the poor, so the borrower is the lender's slave. So the borrower is the lender's slave. So you know how you can tell that you're a slave if you're in bondage, if you're in debt? Miss a payment. Man, you're going to get, somebody's going to call you, you're going to make new friends, people will be calling you up, hey, how you doing? Why haven't you sent in any money? People send you letters, isn't it nice to get those in? My friends, don't do that. Don't get yourself in that bondage situation, that debt situation that just wears you down emotionally, physically, and financially. And I love this. Romans 13:8 says this: let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another. You know, last week I shared with you that Karen and I were in a lot of debt. We had over $20,000 in credit card debt. We had a fifth wheel that we owed a lot of money on. We'll tell you more about that later, but we were hurting. And we took these to heart, these scriptures to heart, and we said, you know what? Let's get serious about this and get things paid off. And we started doing different things. One of them was we sold stuff. We had an estate sale. I wasn't even dead yet. We got rid of stuff just to get it out of the house and start paying off debt. Why? Because this is a burden. This is a burden, and we don't want you to have that. Number 5 is to maintain your financial house. I'm going to tell you right now, you need to pay attention to what's going on financially, and many Americans don't. You need to just pay attention. That's what we're going to teach you as we go into the budgeting process. You need to maintain it on a daily basis. We'll teach you that. You need to replace something in the budget if it doesn't work for you. We're going to teach you a very solid way to be able to manage your money. But if something doesn't quite work out for you, talk to me about it. Let me help you be able to put something in place that will work for you. I ask you to invite others in your home. That's generosity. Again, when you're building your financial plan, think about how you can help other people, how you can just be a blessing to others. It's an important part of any financial plan. You see, true financial freedom is being able to serve anywhere, whenever you can, serving the kingdom, serving God, helping other people. That's what we're all about. That's why we do this. I'm going to show you a quick video. You know what time is it? Yeah, I got time to do that. Let's do that. This is the coolest video. I got to turn it up. All right. Many of us operate in a very normal way when it comes to finances and resources. See if this doesn't look a little bit about what you commonly see. We'll have a little fun.
I just can't get these numbers to add up.
It's like we're never gonna get out of this hole.
Credit card debt, will it ever end?
Maybe I can help.
We sure could use it.
We've tried debt consolidation companies.
We've even taken out loans to help make payments.
You're not the only ones. Do you realize that millions of Americans live with debt that they can't afford? Which is why I've developed this unique program for managing your debt. It's called Don't Buy Stuff You Can't Afford.
Hey, let me see that. If you don't have any money, you should not buy anything. Wow, that sounds interesting.
Sounds confusing.
I don't know, honey. It kind of makes sense. There's a whole section in here on how to buy expensive things with money you save.
Give me that. Where do you get this saved money?
I tell you where and how in Chapter 3.
Okay, but what if I want to buy something, but I don't have any money?
Then you don't buy it.
Okay, but what if I don't have the money to buy something? Should I buy it anyway?
No.
Now I'm really confused.
It is a little confusing at the start.
Okay, what if I have the money? Can I buy something?
Yes.
Take the money away, same story?
No.
Huh?
You shouldn't buy the stuff if you don't have the money.
I think I got it. I buy something I want and then hope I can pay for it, right?
No. You make sure you have the money, then you buy the stuff.
He's smart.
It's all right.
He's so smart. You know, we look at that and we chuckle about it, but isn't that the way a lot of us live? It really is. We buy stuff. We hope we can. We think we're going to always have our jobs. We think the economy is always going to be up. And we get ourselves in debt and we just make assumptions about life. We buy things that we can't afford and we look at what the monthly payment is, not what the total debt is. And we just can't do that. We just have to be able to think a little bit more intelligently about how we're handling money and making sure that we don't get ourselves in this situation. So it's fun to watch this, but the reality is that's where most of us are. We certainly were. Karen and I were living that way all the time. Yeah, we can afford that. Let's go do it. We can afford the monthly payments, but it got us in trouble. Got us in trouble. All right, we're going to talk about stewardship now. We're going to talk about building your financial plan. Stewardship is just another word for management, for managing money. From a biblical perspective, you're managing money from God's perspective, which means that He owns everything and I'm just managing it for Him. That's what stewardship is all about. So now we're going into the budget section. I want to show you this video. This is also another. I'm having fun today. You guys can tell, right? I wanted to do some videos for you just because it's exciting to see that. Let me ask you this. Let's make an assumption here today that I haven't had dinner yet. So let's say this. We've got a hot, steaming apple pie that we're going to say that Pamela made and brought it in tonight. And that pie represents every single thing that God has given to me in my life. My house, my paycheck, my children, everything, education, everything else. And the question is, how am I slicing up that pie? How am I using that pie in my life? And as we go forward in this class, we're going to talk about how to think in terms of categories on where your money's going. And this will demonstrate a little bit of that. So let's have a little bit of fun with this.
Thanks. Dankeschön.
Arigato.
Oh, I couldn't. Well, maybe just a bite.
Oh yeah! All right!
Don't forget the interest.
Dude, he brought the pie.
The last thing that gentleman said was, dude, he brought the pie. And that's the truth. Everything that we have is a blessing. Everything that we've been given. It's how we manage those things that makes the difference. Now, you notice that God was at the end of the table. Where should he have been? At the front of the table, right? At the front of the table. Give him first fruits is what the Bible says. We're going to start talking right now about drawing up a budget. Drawing up a budget. This is it, guys. This is where we start getting meat and potatoes, all right? So we've talked about the path on how we're going to do this. Now we're going to talk specific about the budgeting. Now, it makes some people cringe. A budget might make you cringe. Man, I'm being punished. I'm such a bad financial person that I'm going to be having to live on a budget the rest of my life. Poor me. I'm going to tell you something right now. It's a critical element throughout the journey, and it'll make you have a peaceful financial life by doing it. It's not complicated. My friends, we're teaching you a 3-ring binder. That's it. It's going to be right in one of these. Simple. Once you get it set up, it's going to take a little bit of work to get there. Be patient. It presents the whole picture. There's no more guessing. It presents the whole picture. Let me share a quick story with you about how a budget, here's an example of what a budget does. We have this little dog. His name's Cole. He looks like, what is he, a Pomeranian,
He's
right?
a Pomeranian.
He looks like an 8-pound bowling ball with hair on it. That's what he looks like, okay? Now, my neighbor brought this dog over to us and said, here you go, Mr. Cosgrove, you get this dog's yours, and I was so happy to get it. And I was washing my car at the time. So I took this little dog and I put it in my backyard. My backyard is fenced in. I put the dog back there, went back out to continue to work on my car. I don't want soap drying on my car, so I got to do that. About 3 minutes go by, and I look down. Who's there looking at me? This little dog. Wagging his tail. I'm going, man, how'd you get out? So I took him in the back, and I walked around the yard, and I found a little opening, and I took and put a piece of wood in there so it couldn't get out again. Then I went back out, and I'm working on my car. A couple minutes later, here comes the dumb dog again, back out in front of me. I go, man, what am I doing? Now I have to go back in the backyard, and I walked around the entire yard, and I put a piece of wood here and a cinder block here, and I blocked up all those little holes that this little squirt could get out of. Now, you have a budget, and your budget is going to be your checkbook. Your money is normally directly deposited into there, but here's what's going on. That fenced-in checkbook, that fenced-in backyard, has got all kinds of holes in it, and your money is squeaking out of those. And once you block up those holes, you're going to see your money accumulate and your goals be achieved. That is what a budget does, is it blocks up the holes. Make sense? That's what this does. All right, we are on page 20 in your workbook. Page 20. Now, organizing your budget is a 6-step process, and we are going to follow this process through. So, first step in this is determine what your existing budget is. You may not believe this, but you have a budget right now. You've got it. If you have money coming in and going out, you have a budget. It may not be pretty, but you've got a budget. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to complete a form called the Financial Snapshot Worksheet. We're going to cover that today. I'm going to teach you how to analyze your budget and then determine what comes out when. In other words, you need to know the flow of your money on a monthly basis. When are you getting paid and when are bills being paid? When's money going out? Then we're going to type out your budget so that you have it in writing, and then we're going to organize that 3-ring binder. So this step-by-step process will build on itself. By the time we're done, trust me, you'll know exactly how to do this. All right, now on page 23 and 24, you have got what's called the Financial Snapshot Worksheet. Go ahead and turn to that page. All right, now I'm going to give you an option right here. On page, and we're on the right page 23 and 24. Did I do that right? Okay, good. 23 and 24. Whew, didn't make a mistake yet. We're good. Now, you got a choice. You can either tear this out, it's perforated, or you can keep your finger there, because I'm going to refer to that quite a bit here as we go forward. I just want you to know where it is as we get started on this. So it's called the Financial Snapshot Worksheet. Now, what the Financial Snapshot Worksheet does is it identifies a couple different things that you need to be aware of. So turn to page 23, and you'll see right here we've got gross monthly income. So as you're looking at this, the first thing we want to track is that, oops, sorry, hit the button. The first thing you want to look at when it comes to this is what money is coming in. My friends, I want to know every penny that is coming into your house. Everything that's coming in. Where do I get this information from?
Check stub?
Your check stub, your paycheck stub, right? That's what you get. So you're going to take it out and you look at all your income. First of all, your salary. If you're in a dual income family, both of you will have that. So you fill it out. Also, if you're receiving money for child support, self-employment, maybe you have a rental property that someone is renting from you. Maybe you're at an age where you're receiving some retirement income or Social Security. Maybe Social Security, disability, or any other type of income that is coming in. I want to know about it. Then you put the total income right here. That is the gross monthly income. Gross just means without taxes, right? Then we have your taxes that you're going to take out here. Federal, state, Social Security, and Medicare are the taxes that will come out of your pay. You take your pay stub out and you look at what is coming out. Now, many of us, in fact, most of us, we get paid twice a month. If that's the case, remember to double that figure because we're looking at money that's coming in on a monthly basis to do that. All right? Then we're going to do that for both sides, and that gives you, whatever your income is minus your taxes, gives you the net spendable income. Now, I get the question all the time, why don't I just use the net pay figure on my pay stub rather than having to go through and take these things out? And here's why. There are other things coming out of your pay that are not on this. What other things come out of your pay automatically pre-tax? Insurance will come out, right? Whether that be your medical or any other types of things. Also, sometimes you have money coming out for medical pay flex or flex pay, where the money comes out to take care of things like medical expenses over the course of a year. There's a lot of things that you don't look at that you need to know.
Your 401s, your anything
Yeah,
like that.
401ks. You know, if you're doing investing, it'll come out of there as well. It'll come out of there as well. All right. Now, oh, I'm sorry, going too fast. Something's wrong with my clicker today. Now, this one right here, we're going to go to in just a little bit here. We're going to talk about every single section of this in a little bit. That's on page 24. But that's why I had you put your thumb there. So just put your thumb there, and we're going to back up just a little bit and talk about step one. which is determining your existing budget, and that's on page 21. So I introduced you to the financial snapshot. We're going to come back and go through that in depth. But for right now, I'm going to talk to you about determining your existing budget. This is the first step that you're going to go through to know where your money's going, coming in and going out. All right. I'm giving you the Reader's Digest version. If you look on that page, you'll notice that I've got about 4 paragraphs there, right? I am not going to read that to you. You can read that later. I gave that to you in writing so that when you forget what I'm going to say now, you can have a reference to go back to, all right? So here's the Reader's Digest version. To determine your existing budget, first thing I want you to do is a 60-day credit statement review. In other words, go online or take the hard copy and look at where your money's gone for the last 60 days using a credit card. Where's that money gone? Now, very rarely do we look at that, so this is going to be a new experience for you. The next thing you do is you look at your checkbook, your debit card, or your bank statement, whatever you use. Go back 60 days and see where your money's been going using these 3 avenues. Now, today, a lot of these younger people, which I'm not one of, they don't even have a checkbook anymore. I don't know how you can do that, but they do it online. God bless them. That's okay. Technology's moving forward. I'm trying to keep up, but I got both feet in the mud. So we have a checkbook. But sometimes you just use a bank statement. I don't care. Pay attention to where the money's gone other than your credit cards for the last 60 days, okay? Realize that if you have an ATM withdrawal or a debit withdrawal from the past, it won't be easy to categorize. Why? Because we go in, we take 20 bucks out of an ATM, and we just go about our business. We don't track where we spend that, right? That's not true for the future. You are going to track where that money's going. But as we're trying to figure out where your money has been over the last 60 days, just realize it's not going to get you 100% there. It'll get you a good, solid start, and that's all we're looking for at this stage. Questions about that?
You may find after you've kind of listed it, even just said ATM, this, $40, ATM, $60, you might be amazed at how much you're going to the ATM. That's an eye-opener in itself, because that's money you have no clue what you spent it on or where it's going.
You betcha. Frank first, and I'll come right over there. Go ahead, Frank.
So then we will be saving our receipts.
Okay, what Frank asked is a very important question. He said, so then I'll be saving receipts. The answer to that is yes. And for those of you that right now you went, I don't want to do that, you're going to be fine with this because I'll teach you an easy way to do it. That's correct.
You get a receipt.
That's right, just ask for a receipt, you know, to be able to make that happen. Most of us don't. We say, no, I'm good. And then we go eat our double quarter pounder with cheese, vanilla shake, and order of fries. We need to track that. Boy, that sounds really good right now, come to think of it. So, go ahead.
What if, you know, like I just paid 6 months worth of car insurance?
Yes.
That artificially is an enormous expense.
That's right. It's a great question. What we do is we're thinking about things on a monthly basis. So if there's, and I'm going to cover this in depth shortly, in fact, using that exact example, if you have something that you pay less frequently than monthly, like car insurance, you just do the math. You say, all right, every 6 months I pay $120. Okay, so that means every month I'm saving or preparing by setting aside $12 a month in order to do that. Okay? We're going to cover that in detail in a moment. Good question. Other questions before I move on? You all with me so far? Okay? All right. Now, after you do that for 60 days, here's what I recommend you do. You get a sheet of paper out, just a regular notebook paper. You separate the last 60 days transactions into the 13 categories that are going to be on that worksheet that I'm going to show you in just a moment. So I take a piece of paper and I draw lines on it. And as I'm going through my checkbook or my credit card or whatever, I just write what that is, what bill it goes into and what category. Let me show you. Here's an example. Just get a piece of paper out. Let's say that we're doing April and May. So I get a piece of paper, I draw lines, and I put a heading on the top of each of those lines. The heading is going to come off of the financial snapshot on page 24. Bear with me, I'll get you there in just a moment, okay? So I look at that and I say, all right, going back 60 days, because I'm in June right now as an example. So in April, I gave $50 to my church. That falls under giving. I gave True North or my church another 40 later, or a radio station like K-Love 20. I went out and got some food. I went to John Brooks and I spent $75. In Walmart, I spent another $150. So what you're doing is you're looking back and you're saying, all right, this is where my money has been going in the past, and you just write it out on this notebook paper. That's all you got to do. Now, let's draw one of these out. Let's say the food category, just so I can make it more detailed. So John Brooks 75, Walmart 150, Walgreens 28. Then in May, I spent $80 at Walmart, John Brooks at 121, and Walgreens at 22. So I'd add up the 2 months total that I spent, which in this case is $476. Remember, we're thinking monthly, so I need to divide by 2 because I did 2 months, correct? All right? Questions about that? Throw something at me if I'm not clear, okay?
And we went back 2 months because not everything happens in the last month.
Right.
So we just went back 2 months to give you a general idea of what you're averagely spending.
Okay, so you add this all up. Now we know that on average for food category, we're spending about $238 a month on food in this example. And that is the number that I will put on the Financial Snapshot Worksheet. Okay, that's how you determine your existing budget. We need to know where your money's going now. This will get you 80% there. It won't be 100%, but it's a starting point. Starting point. Some categories you have to make an educated guess on. You know, like for example, you don't know how much you're going to spend in clothing. You don't go out and spend money every single month. Maybe you do. But as an example, clothing, pets, car repairs, even 2 months, you may not have had a car repair. Some of those categories, you're just going to say, hey, look, I might spend $250 on car repairs next year. I don't know. Some things you're going to have to make a guess on. You're just going to have to make a guess, okay? After you do this for a little while, there'll be no guessing. You will know what you're going to be spending. It becomes very clear as you move forward. Some categories are paid less frequently than monthly. For example, car insurance, newspaper, children's sports activities, you just got to do the math. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's use car insurance as an example. Thank you for the lead in on that. You know, next, you're going to teach the next class. You don't know that yet, but you're going to teach the next class. All right, let's look at car insurance, all right? Let's assume that your insurance of $200 for one car is paid every 6 months. Every 6 months. Yes, sir.
I'd like to get insurance that cheap.
I know that. This is a 1974 Pinto. You know, that's all it is. There's nothing much to it. The young people are going, what's a Pinto? You know? Okay. So it's a cheap car. Don't worry about the numbers, okay? All right, so assuming your insurance is $200 is paid every 6 months. You divide the 200 by the number of months, in this case, 6 months. So 200 divided by 6 means that on a monthly basis, you're spending $33.33 for that every month. If you had to pay it monthly, that's how much you would pay. Now, we round all the figures up to the next number. So when you're filling out your financial snapshot, don't put down pennies. It'll make you nuts. You don't have to do it. Round up to the next dollar figure. So in this case, $34. Put the figure of $34 on the Financial Snapshot Worksheet. It's easy as pie. Easy to do that, okay? So anything that is not paid on a monthly basis, just do the math. Questions about that? I will go more in depth on this later on in the course. Questions? All right. You begin tracking and recording your new expenditures on a checkbook, ledger, or elsewhere. You do it every day. You want to talk that through, sweetie?
When we first started, we needed to get an idea what our existing budget was. So we looked back, and that was okay. And then we started keeping really track of what we were spending. And this was kind of a strange situation because we just don't do that. We think, oh, this doesn't matter. It's just $2, $5. It just doesn't count. But they all add up over a month. So we went to our credit union and we got ourselves a nice checkbook ledger. Mike put one in his pocket. I threw one in my purse. Every time we spent anything, whether we wrote a check out to write a bill, whether we stopped at McDonald's and got 2 iced teas, it didn't matter. We wrote it down. And then we could come back at the end of the day or at the end of the week and put them into the categories to see what we're spending. We did that for 2 months and we were amazed. We've realized that in the 2 months period, in just dining out, and there's just the two of us now, but back then we had one other son still around when we were doing it, but we were spending over $700 in 2 months' time, $350 a month on just eating out. That
we had no idea, did we?
We had no idea because we were thinking, when we guessed on what we thought we were doing eating out, we were thinking of places that we really planned. You know, oh, that we're going to go to Olive Garden on Sunday and meet our friends there, so we were counting that. We were thinking about maybe him and I going out to dinner on payday night. We were counting that. But what we didn't count was the iced teas at the gas station. It wasn't the pizza that I stopped on the way home. It wasn't the sudden urge to, we're out shopping and let's just run through McDonald's. All of those things we forgot about. You know, the sudden need for a Dunkin' Donuts because, you know, they have our favorites there. You know, those things we didn't realize, and when we wrote them down, we were appalled at how much money we were eating. So we decided to after looking at that, we decided together on a new number and determined to stay within that in the dining out.
You'll be very surprised when you start doing this. So, get yourself a checkbook ledger at your credit union or bank. How much do you pay for that? It's free, okay? We like free stuff. That's why we're here in this course. Go down and get yourself one, just start writing things down. So if you stop at Dairy Queen on the way home tonight, write it down. Get in the habit to do that.
Now, your question about receipts, Frank, is ask for the receipt. Because if you don't have a chance to write down, then you've got the receipt to put in there, and then throw the receipt away. You don't have to save the receipt in a shoebox.
Yeah, please don't do that. A lot of times people will come into me and they'll bring me a shoebox and go, well, here, I got all these receipts. Oh my gosh, I can't go through and do all that. If you write it down, you look at the receipt, you get the receipt for whatever you buy, you write it down in the book, you throw the receipt away. Don't throw a receipt away if it's something that's a warranted item, or if it's something that you might return if it doesn't fit, something along that line. But anything else, don't keep storing up all these receipts. It'll make you nuts. It'll make you nuts. When you get your budget binder in place, you will track the daily expenditures right here in this budget binder. So right now you're writing them in something else, but eventually this will be where you put it. Remember, it's exactly this big, but you don't carry it with you around. You leave it at home. So you don't. Yeah, you're not going, okay, I got to go get gas. Let's go. You're not doing that, okay? What you're doing is you're just leaving this at home. I'll teach you.
Don't take it to McDonald's.
Don't take it to McDonald's. Go, hey, let me see how much money I got in here. You know, you don't have to do that. We'll teach you how to do it. All right, so all those things will be in here. So temporarily write them somewhere else. We recommend a bank ledger. All right, step number 2 is complete the financial snapshot. Where your finger is on page 23 and 24, turn to that. And now we're going to hit this in depth. My friends, this form is critical to go through and understand where your money's going. So let's cover that. First of all, a couple things about the Financial Snapshot Worksheet. It shows every source of income that you have. It identifies 13 specific categories. So let's look at those. After the income one on page 24, flip that over on 24, what is the first category? Giving, right? Okay, what is number 2? Housing. You see how this is working? All right, what's the last category? 13. What's 13? School and kids and stuff like that. All right, I just want to make sure that you're seeing what I'm seeing. All right? It also provides subcategories. For example, if you looked under the housing category, which is what number? Number 2. If you look under that, you'll notice there's a number of items listed underneath that, right? Those items that are underneath there are things like mortgage, cable, internet, etc., etc. Those, my friends, are called subcategories. Housing is the major category. The subcategories are listed below that. All right? This collects monthly data only. That's all I'm interested in is what are you spending a month? So in the car insurance example, in that case you would write down $34 even though you only pay that every 6 months. You do the math. Your electric bill is due every month. Just average out what your electric bill will be. All right? If expenses are less frequent than monthly, divide by the months, just like the example we just did. Always round your figures up to the next dollar. Adjust categories as needed for your personal situation. So, for example, category number 13, had to do with the children and that kind of stuff, right? If you do not have children, you do not have to go get some because there's a category for it, all right? You don't have to do that. But so if you don't need a category, don't worry about it. But if you want to add another category, that's okay too. That's okay too. All right, so now we're on the financial snapshot. We already went through the income. Is everybody clear on what we're going to do here? All right, now let me give you one more definition, and this is very important. Your total income minus your taxes provides your net spendable income. Your net spendable income is all the money you have to be able to budget with. You cannot spend more than that. We do that, but we shouldn't, all right? So that is what net spendable income is. That is what you're going to build your budget with in the process of this course. Please do not, on the income process, please don't put anything in here that is not guaranteed. For example, overtime pay, an employer bonus, any other non-guaranteed income in the planning process. Here's an example. We had a very nice couple. The spouse did this thing called Pampered Chef, where it's, they sell products and do that. And that's a wonderful side job for her. But there was no guarantee of consistency in that. So we asked her not to include that in the budget. However, the income that comes from something like that is going to be used in the budget by looking for areas that you can put the money in that may need help. So that's the way you use that. So please understand this. There's no such thing as free money. If there's money coming in from any source, you always take it into account in relation to the budget. All right? Here's a question I get all the time. I think this is great. Does it count as income if it was spent before I got it? Yes. That's still income, even though we know a lot of times that money's already come and gone. All right, now we're hitting the budget here. We're talking about the Financial Snapshot Worksheet. Follow along with me on page 24, and we'll go through this one step at a time. Number one is the giving category, church and charity of your choice that you give to. Why do you think that I put that as the very first category, giving? Anybody have any ideas? Pamela?
God's house.
God's pie. First fruits, biblically, go to God. That's where you should give the first monies to, is to God. Don't put them at the end of the table, right? So let's talk about that just a little bit. Proverbs 3:9 says, honor the Lord with your wealth from the first fruits of all your crops. In other words, my friends, I encourage you to think about all the blessings that you've been given, all the things that God has done for you, and then giving from that to be able to honor Him, to make that happen. And for many people, that might be giving a tithe to the church. Tithe means 10%. A lot of people do that, and there's some other ways to look at that. I'm going to cover that later on in more detail. In fact, I get this question all the time. Do I give to my church based on my gross income or my net income? In other words, do I give what I'm going to give based on pre-tax or after-tax? Well, a friend of mine once said, do you want to be blessed on the gross or blessed on the net? Well, I want to be blessed on the gross, you know, so we do that. But here's the way that we look at this. If you get paid and you are a person that's going to give back to God, and you do that after taxes, then first fruits goes to Uncle Sam, because they're the ones that get the first monies right out of the taxes. So we encourage you to give based on gross income. All right, so you put your giving right here, church and charity on a monthly basis, add that up, that's your total giving. Then you have the housing category. Now, housing is not just your mortgage or your rent. We think that way, but it's not. It includes all these subcategories such as your mortgage, your cable, internet, Netflix, etc., etc. All these different items are things that you need to pay attention to and put in. Now, there are some things here that you can help adjust a little bit. Honey, you want to talk a little bit about the utilities?
I hope that all of you are familiar with budget billing. You can do budget billing on your electric, your gas, and your water if you live in Albuquerque. If you live in Rio Rancho, you can't do it on your water. And I think if you live in the surrounding areas, there might be some different rules as well. But budget billing is a great way so that your amounts don't change depending on the season or what's happening outside. So to do that, you just go to the websites of like P&M or New Mexico Gas or the water, and there should be somewhere on their homepage an area about budget billing. So you click on that and it'll ask you for the address you live in. If you have lived at that address for a year, they've got a great idea of what you spend over a year. So they will take that, they will average it out over a year, and they will tell you your monthly bill will be this month and what amount of money, and it will be exactly that for a whole year. Once a year, they reevaluate to see if you're still within a parameters there. Now, we've had it go both ways. We've had it where we had 4 people in our house, and then we went down to 2 people in our house, so we overpaid for a year. And so they knocked us way down so that we got rid of that credit that had built up. And then our son moved back in with us, so our electric bill went up again. So they just adjusted. But you got to realize when they adjust it, they're looking how much you overpaid and they're dividing it by 12. So your payments change like $5 or $6, maybe 10.
Yeah.
It is not the total amount that you are over in your thing. So it really helps it out. That way you're taking out the winter and the summer. And I know people say, oh, I love it in the winter when my electric bill is only $17. But do you love it when it's $300 in the summer? Because that doesn't work. You don't want to have to do that. You don't want to have to guess at what your average is, and then what if you're higher or lower? It throws your budget way out of whack. So please look at that. The nice thing about budget billing is it is not a contract. You can go off at any time you want. You can only go on budget billing if you are not in arrears or have been in arrears in the past with those utilities. But it works out so well. My budget, we have 2 central air conditioners because we have a 2-story house. So my electric bill is $113 a month for every month for the whole year, and it doesn't matter what it's doing outside. My water bill is $46, my gas is $60. It is exactly the same for the whole year. That makes budgeting so much easier on your utilities, and you don't have to worry about the time of the year or what the weather is outside.
And one of the things that we want to do for you is this process is to take this out of your budget and make it stable for you so you understand what's going on. There's nothing worse than having bills come in and you're not prepared for them, or expenses that you just didn't think about or you just don't have enough money. I don't know if this ever happened to you, but before we started this kind of a program, a bill would come in and go, wow, where are we going to get the money for that? You know, we were living that too. We don't want that to happen. So that's what we're trying to eliminate. Okay, then you have some other things, your home phone or your cell phone, homeowners fees, etc., whatever else there might be on this. Then we've got the food category. What are you spending on average a month for food? And you put that in that category. Then you have the auto category. Can cars get you in trouble? Car payments? Did you guys know that cars are the #1 advertised product in America? It's unbelievable. And I'll tell you what, you get yourself in a car payment, it'll hurt you for years. Let's talk just a little bit about car payments and buying cars. When it comes to vehicle purchases, here's some things I want you to consider. Vehicles are the #1 advertised product in America. High profit margin for people selling those. And the biggest mistake consumers make is buying a new rather than a used vehicle. We buy new rather than used. And now I don't want you to do this. You don't have to buy one of these. Okay? That's not what I'm talking about used. I'm talking about a quality vehicle that has a few miles on it that someone else has paid the depreciation on. And you can do this and save a bunch of money. You know, here's a chart. It's a little bit busy, but please bear with me. Let's say that you buy a brand new car. You go down today to the Nissan dealership, you find the car you want, you buy it. As soon as you buy that, what happens to the value of that vehicle when you drive it off the lot? It depreciates right then. You cannot leave the parking lot and go around the block and come back in and get the same money back. Now you're driving a used vehicle. So the value of the vehicle drops significantly at the beginning. Now the life expectancy of the vehicle on average is going to be about 12 years if you take care of the car. And now what you're looking at is trying to find the sweet spot to be able to buy a car. And here's what we recommend and studies have shown. When it comes time to purchase a new used vehicle, I encourage you to look at a car that's somewhere around 3 to 4 years old, because you are going to pay approximately 45 or 50 cents on the dollar let someone else pay the depreciation of that vehicle. There are many people out there who buy a car, they keep it till the warranty expires, and they sell it. I love those people because I will buy them all day long. If you buy a new car, you're taking a hit right at the beginning. Now, if it's all about the new car smell, Walmart, $1.74, open up a can, put it under the seat, you're good to go. All right? If you really want a new car, buy two. It'll be really good. All right? So do not buy a new car. Don't get caught up in the advertising trap to do that. Then also, in part of your plan, be sure to plan for buying your next vehicle. In other words, if you have a car right now that's running great and it's 2 or 3 or 4 years old, you know that in a few years you're probably going to have to look at another vehicle. In your budget, start setting aside a little bit of money so that when you buy the car, you don't have to take a loan out. You'll have enough money to be able to buy that. We have not had a new car in how long?
Well, we haven't. Our last new car was the 2001.
Yeah, so it's been a while. Trust me, the Cosgroves will never own another new car. Not happening. Not happening.
And we haven't had a car payment in about 7 years.
That's right. I just got an email today from a family that went through our course. They're wonderful people, and they're just, sometimes they're not making the greatest decisions. I just got an email from them. We just got them out of debt. They're on a good path. I haven't seen them for about 8 months. They just bought 2 brand new cars last week. And they said, well, we made a mistake. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't help you, you know, but you got to think before you buy. Don't get caught up in the emotion, okay? Don't get caught up in the emotion. All right, now there's other things that have to do with the car. You've got your payment, your insurance, fuel for that vehicle, repairs and maintenance. Maybe you have roadside assistance. If you live in Albuquerque, you've got registration and emissions. What else do you take care of in your car? Think about that. Now, some things you're going to have to guess at. Like we said earlier, you don't know how much repairs and maintenance are going to be over the next year. Take a guess and put it down, and we'll figure it out the more we do it. All right? Then you have insurance, and this is not car insurance because car insurance is under the automotive category, but maybe you have some other insurances that you're paying. Now notice that some of these have an asterisk next to them. These are items that may come out of your paycheck pre-tax. So you go to your pay stub and you draw that out of there and plug it in right here, okay? If you have those items. So maybe you have life insurance that you're paying, group term insurance through work, medical insurance, disability, dental, what else? In other words, I'm going to force you to look at that pay statement and understand where your money is going. Where your money is going. Questions about any of those? All right, now we're going to talk about debt. You've got credit cards, student loans, etc., etc. Let's take a moment and let's talk about credit cards for just a minute. I call those plastic passports to poverty because that's what they are. They'll get you in trouble every time. It says more people overspend with credit cards than any other form of debt. That's plastic splurgery. You see, when you have a credit card, it's a lot easier to swipe that card than it is to hand somebody $20. And because of that, because there's no emotion, you're swiping that card, and what do you say to yourself? We'll just pay it off at the end of the month. Sure, a piece of cake. But you don't. And that hole that you're digging keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So don't do that. Let's talk about some credit card rules. Have only one credit card. Get one. Get one credit card that works for you. There are some organizations that say don't have any credit cards. I don't believe that that is a very sound financial advice because of the world we live in today. Situations come up. Sometimes you need them to be able to take care of securing airline tickets or doing something else along that line. But remember, it's just a tool. A credit card itself is neither good nor bad. Only have one. Never pay an annual fee. For example, there's some credit cards out there that for the privilege of being able to carry something that'll get you in debt, they'll charge you $25 or $50. Are you kidding me? I am not paying somebody to have that in my wallet. It's not going to happen. Do your research and find the card that's best for you. Some cards offer benefits. For example, frequent flyer miles or being able to get some cash back. Those may be things that appeal to you. So talk a little bit about that, sweetheart.
We only have the one Visa card. It's through the New Mexico Educators. We chose to do frequent flyer miles because we had 3 sons in the service and none of them lived at home until just recently when one moved back home. So we always were flying out to see them. So we wanted to use frequent flyer miles. So just a few years back, our middle son was in England and we wanted to go see him. We saved for 3 years on our frequent flyer miles. Now, we never went into debt. We paid it off every month, but we did use it to accrue the miles. We went to England and back, and it cost us $200 a person. And because we used our frequent flyer miles, we just had to pay the taxes. So for us, that's the benefit. But we only have one card and we pay it off every month. And it doesn't matter. We will pay things off before they've even hit the card. We will go ahead and maybe we're stuck and we're putting $80 of gas in a car, and then we go right over and put the gas money, move it right over and pay the card. I've had them say, you don't even you have zero on your bill. I said, not till Monday. Monday will be there. So we pay it off immediately when we use it, but we do use it to accrue the frequent flyer miles.
And we use it only for budgeted items. You have to remember that. Here's what the credit card companies are saying. We're going to give you cash back or frequent flyer miles, so you'll say, I'm going to charge everything on it, and then I'll get all this frequent flyer miles or all this cash. But if you don't make the payments, they get the interest on it. That can be anywhere from 12.99 to 29.99 or even higher. All right, so don't get caught up in that trap. But as we go forward, we'll teach you more about how to be able to do that. Some other things, you use it only for budgeted items. That's it. Don't buy it if it's not in the budget. Don't make a purchase with that credit card. Pay it off every single month. But if you get behind, you're done. I don't want you to keep that credit card. You have to be disciplined enough not to get behind in these payments. If you're living by this 3-ring binder budget and you're doing it the right way, you'll never be in debt again. We have not been in debt for 8 years with the exception of a rental property we have in Texas. We've been able to, no, I'm sorry, 6 years. We're able to pay all that debt off. We'll talk to you more about that in the debt section. Never, ever, ever, please hear this, never, ever close an open credit card account if you have a debt on it. Because if you close that account, they have, by contract that you signed, your permission to raise that to the highest level that they can. And that is not a good thing. So don't cancel the card till it's paid off. Just put it away and take care of it later. Yes, Frank?
Highest level of interest?
Highest level of interest that they are allowed to charge you. They will raise it up to that. In most cases, that's around 35%. So even if you're paying 9.99%, but you call them up and say, man, listen, I want to cancel the card, don't do this. Oh, you guys got me in debt. It's your fault that I'm in debt with that credit card. Then yell and scream at them and then cancel it. Don't do that. You guys are using the card, right? But when the card is paid off, then you can cancel it. But if you call them and say, I'd like to cancel it, they'll cancel it for you. But there's a high probability they're going to raise the interest rate on you till it's paid off. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
If you close the card, even if there's no balance, doesn't it affect your credit score?
It can, but that's an entirely different subject. With your permission, may I defer that to later when we cover it? Very briefly, what she said was, if you cancel a credit card, can that hurt your credit score? I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. It's based on the income to debt ratio that you have, how much money in debt that you have out there that causes that. The short answer is canceling the credit card does not hurt your credit rating. But if you have a lot of debt and you cancel a card, now that can impact your credit rating. We'll go more into depth on that later in the class. Other questions? Okay. Now we're back to the Financial Snapshot Worksheet. Remember, your other debt might be a pension loan that you take from your 401k. We're seeing more and more of that happening lately. A personal loan. By the way, is a loan from mom or dad, is that debt?
Yes.
Yeah, that's debt, all right? So that should be indicated on here. Payday loan, same as cash loans, maybe child support that you have to pay, and some other debt. By the way, danger areas, title loan companies, payday loan companies. My friends, please be very careful about that. For those of you who are not aware of how they work, they charge an unbelievable amount of interest. We have seen it as high as over 400% interest on a loan. So stay away from those. Encourage other people to stay away from those as well. Now, when it comes to co-signing, This is an area that gets people in trouble quite a bit when it comes to other kinds of debt. I have a philosophy about it that I feel kind of strong about. Never, 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 ever co-sign. All right, can I say that again? Never, 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 ever, ever, never, never, ever co-sign. Let me give you a great example of this. My brother, who I love dearly, a number of years ago, he was going to get married. And my wife and I were brand new in the Air Force, and he called us up and he said, hey, big brother, we would like to be able to take a nice honeymoon. And, you know, we went down to the bank, and they said that they wouldn't give us a loan without a co-signer. So I thought about you, and I said, you know, little brother, I love you. I'm happy to co-sign for that. And he co-signed, and they went on a really nice cruise. And I got to tell you, he came back, lost his job, couldn't make the payments. Who did the bank go to? Me. That was my debt. I co-signed for that. That was the best cruise I never went on that I paid for. I paid for that whole thing. We sold a car to be able to pay that debt off.
We co-signed for $7,000.
$7,000.
And within the first year, we were responsible for $7,000.
Right. So it got us. But don't do that. Don't do that. Make sure that you avoid that. Now, people say, what about college? College, there are scholarships and grants that have been out there more than there's ever been for opportunities for children to go to college. Also, there's opportunities and good opportunities for them to be able to work and help pay through their college and make that happen. So don't co-sign. You see, I have got a whole lot of grandmothers who have these. Because grandkids come up and say, would you co-sign for me, Grandma? Sure. There you go. Grandma ends up with the motorcycle or whatever they co-sign for. My friends, avoid that pitfall. If the bank says they're a bad credit risk, what makes you think any differently? Amen? All right. Yes, sir.
I remember being at UNM, it was like freshman week, and they had people out there with brand new cars.
Yes.
And they're trying to get these freshmen or I don't know what to sign up and buy a car.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's ridiculous. They don't even have jobs.
That's exactly right.
They're in college and they want to saddle them with enormous debt.
They haven't earned their first dollar.
Yeah.
You know, they have not earned their first dollar in what they're doing, and yet everybody starts early. Let's get them in debt as soon as we can, and automatically, young people, unfortunately, they don't have life experiences that'll keep them out of trouble, and they may not receive the best counsel sometimes, but they're the folks that should be driving the 74 Pinto while they're going through school to be able to make it work. All right. Entertainment, can this be a danger area for you, the entertainment area? It can be a big black sucking hole that takes all your money. You got to watch it closely, all right? First one, we already talked about that, dining out. Karen and I were in that as a pitfall. Hobbies, vacation. Maybe you're members of clubs like maybe even things like Costco and stuff like that. I would put clubs in there for money that you're spending or some other form of entertainment. But pay attention to how much money's going out there. Clothing is another category that's very important that you're probably going to have to guess a little bit about how much you're spending there because you don't normally spend money all the time. You know, sometimes when I'm counseling families, they'll come in and I'll get to this category and they'll say, well, Mike, we just don't buy clothes. But they're dressed every time they're talking to me, so they're buying clothes somewhere. Every single category is going to have something in it. So don't tell me you're not spending money on clothes. Then you put down what you estimate that'll be right there. Emergency savings. This is not how much you have in emergency savings, but how much money you're committed to putting away on a monthly basis in that category. And remember, you're always going to put away a little bit of money every month in savings. First test. How much is the initial amount you want in emergency savings? $1,000. That's right, $1,000. Medical expenses, these are things like medical and dental copays, prescriptions, maybe your flexible spending account which sets aside pre-tax dollars so you can buy medical things like, even some things like aspirin or glasses or anything along that line. That comes out of your check pre-tax, which is why it's an asterisk item, or some other money that's anything else for medical that you put there, maybe braces for children or something like that. Then you have miscellaneous. Is this another area that can get you in trouble, right? Now, one of the problems that we had in our family is the very first one, and it's called gifts. And I just don't want to go into it, so I'm going to let Karen do that. But go ahead, honey, talk to him about our problem with gifts.
Well, our problem, we just threw out this nice round number and said, based on, I was thinking, oh, probably $1,000 a year on gifts was probably what we spent. And so we broke that down into monthly, and we put in there. But what I realized I was thinking was just Christmas. And I was not thinking about birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, Mother's Day, nieces and nephews' birthdays, if you send them things, graduation presents, wedding presents, baby showers. I wasn't thinking any of that stuff. So within a short amount of time, I think we started like in February and we hit about June, I was out of money. And I said, this isn't going to work. We need to change our budget because I need more money in gifts. He said, too bad. And I cried. And then we rewrote our budget. So
okay. let me just interrupt. Okay. All you men in the audience, safety tip. Never say too bad. Those words are things that go on the never list, all right? So it was bad. She was crying. It was bad. Go ahead.
So we had to really rethink this. And so when I started writing down, and I had to be realistic with myself, I realized I terribly overspend because I was just thinking whatever I saw them and think, oh, they'll love this, I bought it. What I had to do is rearrange my whole thinking, decide who were the important people in my family and what I wanted to spend on them. So, you know, I do love Christmas, and for the longest time, until just this past year and a half, I had 3 sons in the military, one in Hawaii, one in England, one in Tennessee. Not only did I have to worry about birthday and Christmas for them, but the mailing of the gifts had to come from somewhere. So that all had to go into there. So then we increased that and we broke that down, and I had to make a conscious decision that the people that I like to give something, but maybe nieces, nephews, that kind of thing, when they were little, now they're big and we don't do it for them, but we decided on a $25 gift certificate and that was it. And we could decide exactly, they could tell me where they wanted it. Did you want it from Kohl's? Do you want it from Toys R Us? Or, you know, they could tell me anywhere. Or as they got into high school, I started giving them movie theater passes for $25. They would enjoy that. Because you have to realize that anything Aunt Karen bought them clothes-wise was going back the next day, because their tastes and mine were nothing like that. So I set that budget and I stayed with that because that allowed me to spend more on my immediate family. And like Mother's Day, I always ordered flowers, but instead of getting both of them the $60 arrangement with the $15 fee, I watched for the $20 one, and I knew they were going to love it just because it was flowers I was sending. It didn't have to be this big, huge bouquet. So that took me down to really being careful with what I spent. And we also decided I was going to do it totally in cash. And when I went shopping, I took my cash envelope with me, because that keeps me from overspending. When you are swiping, you're like, oh, well, I'll just go less than somebody else, and you just keep on going. Plus, when you do that, you throw in the socks and underwear with the birthday presents you went to get, and pretty soon you've blown that as well. So we just went in cash, and we went ahead, and it's very much harder to give away $25 in cash out of your envelope and write it down and subtract it down for Christmas, that it's at the end of the year, than it is to just swipe. So it forced both of us. He gave in to my tears, and we raised the amount. And I had to be very careful because that's all I had. And I never, ever, ever charge a Christmas or a birthday present. If I have to, maybe because I do use Amazon, because sometimes you can get the best deals and the free shipping, and sometimes I can just have it delivered right to them instead of me having to mail it. It comes right out of the gifts, and that money goes right on the credit card.
Very important concept. Okay, so you got these other things in miscellaneous that get you into buying personal care items, beauty and barbershop. For you men in the room, getting your manicures and pedicures, all these different things, whatever that comes out of. And then your investments in item number 12, any monies that you contribute to that. And then for the children and childcare, their activities, tuition, school supplies, etc. In other words, I want you to take a real honest look at where your money's going. A real honest look, and that's what this snapshot does. You might find at the bottom of this, when you get done with your financial snapshot, it might say this: I've been working on my budget, Ernie. Here it is. Line 1 is my fixed expenses. Line 2 is my fixed income, and the difference is the fix I'm in. You may find that you have a little bit of a shortfall at the bottom, or a good positive. If you have a negative number, you just got to cut back in some areas. If you have a positive number, put that money in another category somewhere that you can use it. Maybe savings to do that. Yes, sir.
But if you can't see it, you don't know.
You got to see it. That's why you got to look at the budget. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to make you hold a mirror up to yourself and look at your money. Immediate questions about the snapshot, you'll have more next week after you do the work. Yes?
So is it just kind of like you were saying, the insurance, so like say I get my hair done every 8 weeks, you know, it's like 100 around there.
Sure.
So do I just take it and divide it through the year?
Yeah, just average out for a year and then come up with what it might average out to for a month. Take an educated guess.
Well, if you get your hair cut and it's $100 every 8 weeks, then that's $50 a month.
Right.
Just break that up.
Yeah,
How'd you
just
do
break
that?
it down that way to make that work. Good question.
Okay.
Roy?
So, we've got this fifth wheel that we're paying on. What category does that fall
Fifth wheel go under housing.
Okay.
Fifth wheel?
Or it can go
No.
under entertainment.
The fifth wheel?
A fifth wheel.
I'd put under auto.
There you go. She wants to put it under auto. I don't care where you
don't
put it,
put it anywhere.
as long as you're consistent. I probably wouldn't put it under auto because it doesn't have a car, it doesn't have an engine or anything. But
Right, I agree.
yeah. So whichever one you're comfortable with.
So with the income piece of it, you get paid bi-weekly, that's more than twice a month in a year. Do you account for those extra?
You get the freebie paychecks periodically. Is those ones? Yeah. And we're going to cover that next week. But the short answer is you account for regular biweekly without the extra paycheck. Like this paycheck, we got 3, and I'm going to tell you what to do with that paycheck next week when we go through that. Okay. What we normally recommend is when you get the extra paycheck, our name is Mike and Karen Cosgrove. Write out a check. No, don't do that. All right. Let's go to the homework. It's at the top ahead of your. I'm so sorry. Please go ahead.
So if you can't do the budget filling that you were talking about, then you just get the, you call them and ask them for the year and then average it?
You can look at your previous bill for over the last year, see what you've been spending if you've saved those. You can always talk to customer service and just tell them you're trying to figure out what you averagely spend, and they might be able to help you with that too.
Can I make a suggestion?
Please.
The PNM has a brand new website. If you go and enroll at pnm.com, you can pull up all of your bills for the last 12 months, and you set up a profile there.
Perfect.
It can even tell you what the budget bill would be, and that's a pretty good average.
Okay.
There.
Since we're going to.
Okay, your homework is at the head of each table. You've got it right here at the top. Everybody grab one of those, pass that around, Frank, right here. All right? All right, now this week, there's quite a bit of homework. Please bear with me. It's not always going to be this much. So this week has got a little bit more for you to do. Now, please remember this. If you wait till next Tuesday at 3 in the afternoon to start your homework, you ain't doing it. Do it a little bit every single day so that you're prepared for next week. So let's walk through it. Did you catch that, Roy? Don't wait till the last minute. You good? All right, Cindy, keep them in line, all right? All right. You're going to begin gathering your financial data to help you complete the Financial Snapshot Worksheet. You're going to gather your pay statements, most recent credit bills, car loan information, mortgage information, because you're going to use that information to put on the snapshot. In other words, all your debt statements. You got to figure out where your money's going. You're going to have a money date this week. You're going to have a money date. Now, folks, do not forget the importance of communication. Do not forget it. I know that we're going to be talking numbers and stuff from now on. But the reality is, if you're not talking about it, it's not going to happen. Determine what your existing budget is. Remember how to do that. You go back 60 days. It's in your workbook. Go back 60 days. Look at where your money's been going with your credit cards. Also your checkbook and your debit cards. And then you figure out what you're spending a month. All right? And that's in your book to be able to do that. Then I want you to complete your Financial Snapshot Worksheet. It is going to take time. There are extra copies in the back of your workbook, and you can download it on the website by going to the website at tn.abq.com. It's in the front of your book. Go to Resources, click on Forms, and download as many as you want. I recommend you do it in pencil because you're going to make mistakes. So do it in pencil to start with. I'm telling you up front, this takes time, and it's going to be a little bit of work to make it happen. Be patient with yourselves. In fact, that'd be a great money date. Begin tracking your spending daily in a checkbook, ledger, or somewhere else, but start writing it down starting now. Start writing it down what you're spending. Okay, I'm sending you to the store. You got to go spend some money. After you spend the money, you write it down. Okay? You're going to purchase a 3-ring binder. Now, let me tell you what kind. Please pay attention. This is important. I want you to go buy a 3-ring binder that looks like this. It's got to have pockets on the front and the back. In other words, a slot here and a slot in the back. It should fold flat. You see this extra opening in the middle? Your book should be able to fold flat on the table. All right, you can buy these at Staples as an example and other places. I bought this one at Goodwill because I'm a cheap guy, which I have no problem with. All right. Then I want you to purchase at the same time 16 binder dividers with tabs and pockets to put in the binder. Now, these, when you purchase these, notice that it has a slot on each side of the divider that you can put information in. I'll explain why that's important next week. And also notice that the tab for the heading is external. I can see it with the binder closed. I can still read the tabs. If you don't, it'll make you nuts. Just don't do it. So you can buy that. So each one of the dividers, you're going to buy 2 sets of them because you need a minimum of 13 dividers. And they usually come with sets of 8 with pockets on each side and an external tab on it. Questions? Okay. Yes, ma'am. This one right here, I think, is about a 2-inch binder.
2 to 3?
3. Okay, 3-inch binder. Go to 3. I don't care how big it is, but don't make it too small. But I wouldn't get the 12-inch one because you'd be hard to carry. So we want to do that. All right. So you buy the dividers. Label the dividers with the 13 categories from the snapshot. So you see ours out here. It says giving, it says housing, it says food, it says automobile. Write it in. Write it in there. You can type it in if you want, if you're fancy. Okay? All right, other questions? Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll be getting here soon 2 paychecks. One from Sonic, which will be coming every 2 weeks.
Right.
Twice a month.
Okay.
And then I'll be getting 1 paycheck from the Air Force.
Right.
Once a month.
Right.
How would I figure that out?
You're just going to take the total amount of income from both sources and start there. Okay? And then you're going to learn more about how you want to divide it as we go forward in the class. I know that, and this is understandable, I know that as we're first getting started here, I'm giving you some kind of vague items. Trust me, this is all going to come together. Right, Pamela? Right, Roy?
Yep.
These are some of my graduates. Bear with me, all right? You're going to get it all figured out. Bring the binder to class every single week. Every week, because you will have questions and I will challenge you on what you're filling out and making it happen. My job is to help hold you accountable. Your job is to do it. I'm a tough guy. Next week, we're going to start spending plan part 2. So please do not wait until next week to start. Please do not wait to start till next week to be able to make it happen. Has this been helpful today? Lots of stuff that we're covering. It won't be quite as in-depth next time. Let's go ahead and close in prayer, and I'll let you go. I'll be here if you have any questions afterwards. And of course, my binder is always available. Please come on up and look at it any time that you like. Let's go ahead and pray. My dear Father, we thank you for this evening. Lord, we know that there was a lot of information passed tonight. I just ask you to help provide calm with our students tonight, that as they go through this week, to be able to free up their calendar and make time to be able to get started on the organization of all of this variety of information that we've asked for. We thank you, Father, for being with us tonight. Bring us all back safely next week. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Bless you all. Be safe tonight.